I'm getting better at waiting for that to tell me recording in progress. Usually you start talking and in mid-sentence it's going on. So hello students who were able to join. I hope more pop in here in the next little bit. Glad to have you here. I am, sorry. I'm Kim Blosser, president at the college. Okay, so I see, might have been Sarah. Wanted to just chat with you and then just get some, just see how things are going for you. On when Chris sent it out, and we did get a few responses, or from Chris or Sarah, whoever sent all that out, about questions that students had. So let me first just start off responding to a couple of questions that came through, and then I will answer any other questions. So one of them, we'll start with some of the basic ones that came through about in-person classes in the future. So I did post our link that our student affairs folks have created. It talks about what to expect in summer and fall, and we will absolutely have in-person classes in fall. We'll go back to, post-normal. It won't be exactly the same, but it'll be more similar to what it used to be prior to the pandemic, but there will be in-person classes, maybe just a little smaller class sizes. We'll also continue to have the online classes. There's going to be some additional offerings, sort of your hybrid classes, but maybe some hybrid classes that have technology embedded. So actually some more options than we even had prior to the pandemic. So if you check out that link, it'll give you an explanation of all the classes that we have for fall. There was a question, I don't know if this person's on here, about taking classes for nursing. Would it be possible to enter the nursing program in the fall? So what I would just say to that is you had to have applied and gone through that process. So if you look on our nursing website, that has all the steps on having to apply, how you apply. There's information sessions, that kind of thing, about how to apply. And you can ask, and Amber can post in here, I'm sure, one of them, who our health professions advisor, could help if you have specific questions. We'll post that in the chat. And then there was a question about the library being open. And so I did get a response. The library is planning to open back for more in-person services starting in the summer. So sort of in the June, July timeframe. They're working on their plans for how to do that now. But yes, the library will be open, just like all the rest of us will be starting to return slowly, and then more in a little larger form starting as we get closer to the fall semester. And then there were two questions that came through regarding our name change. One, what is going to be the name? The other was, are we closer to having a name? And then there is a third one related to that on when it will show up on degrees. So let me just try to talk a little bit about where we are with the new name. So right now, our new name process is in place. There is a task force that's set up. It has students, one of our current students. We have, well, actually 3 of our current students, and then 1 alum who just recently graduated, plus a lot of other folks from our community, our representation for our faculty and staff. So there's a large task force that's meeting to come up with the name for the college. We are working with some experts on that process that are out of Virginia Commonwealth University. And so over the next 2 weeks, we will have a name narrowed down to about 5 finalists. At that point, folks will see what those 5 finalists are. We'll get feedback on those. And then our name will be going to the local board. The one name that we think is the best will be going to the local board in June, and then to the state board in July. So that's sort of our timeline. So in a couple of weeks, you should start seeing those finalists out on the website and just in different venues. And we'll be getting feedback from them. We're going to have a forum to get feedback as well. The other piece is when it is on your degree. So then while we will have a vote on the new name by July in the state board, it will not go into effect until the following academic year, or I just keep saying summer of 2022. There are lots of processes in the back end that have to. So any student that graduates this year will still have Lord Fairfax Community College on your diploma. What will happen though, when we get a new name is, in most cases when colleges, we are certainly not the first college to have a new name. I mean, this has happened all over the US. So when colleges rename, they offer students the opportunity to order a transcript that has the new name. And so what will happen is it will say, whatever the new name is, Christopher Lambert Community College, new name, and then underneath it will say, the college, it won't say this exactly, the college formerly known as Lord Fairfax Community College. So that will be on the transcript to indicate that when a student may have something that says Lord Fairfax on it previously, because it was known as that through 2021 graduating class. So there will be an option to order a new one if students want to, but students will continue to graduate actually through next year with Lord Fairfax Community College on the transcripts and on their diplomas.
Dr. Blosser?
Yeah.
Will we start using the new name in the summer of 22?
So, that's one of the things that's going to be interesting. We've been talking about how you once you get the new name, how do you transition from Lord Fairfax to whatever the new name is? Officially, the new name will not, there's just processes that have to go through to get a new name. But I envision there'll be some communication plan that we'll have to put together on how we start doing that. There was one school, as an example, that when they did their their back to school bags for that incoming class, they put both names on it. There were there's ways on the website that you can sort of change your website to get people transitioning to what's going to be the new one. So that will be our next step. Once we have the name, is figuring out then how you transition. So I fully expect people will start saying it. It won't be like you'll be banned from saying it. But how we transition that part of it, we do still have to figure out.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else do we have? What are some of our other questions? There was yeah, we posted that. Thank you, Amber, for posting all that stuff. And Chris says, is it too late to add that as one of our, his name is
you
one
put
of our
it out
options.
there now, so
Hey,
I'm kind of like, maybe.
You can go to the website. They're still on the website. We are still taking it. So on the website, it's lfcc.edu/name. People can still submit their ideas for names. And I promise you, it is still not too late. So Chris, while you're on this Zoom thing, you could go right out there and fill it out.
I do have another question.
Yes, absolutely.
Will the testing center be open this summer? At least some hours a week?
Yep. So I'm turning that one to one of our students.
I'll take that one.
Mm-hmm. I think I have heard that some rumors, but will not confirm for sure.
So the testing center will reopen in some limited capacities over the summer. And then it transition in the fall to something resembling what the testing center was previously. As you can imagine, we have a lot of members of our community who use our testing center, LFCC students, but well beyond LFCC students. So we expect we may see a little bit of a backlog in people who've wanted to take tests like the CompTIA test for students who are pursuing that kind of certification. Also in the summer, we do tend to do a little more placement testing. So we expect to see a little bit of placement testing happening over the summer, but we won't see classroom tests in the summer session. So if you're taking summer classes and you have an exam, we'll continue using all the different assessment techniques that have been used thus far with Respondus or instructors using alternatives to testing. So it's unlikely that you would be testing in the summer, a lot more likely that you would use the testing center in the fall semester.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that, probably most students would have no reason to know that we are an official like Pearson VUE testing center in addition to serving our students. So our students that, for example, workforce students that, to Amber's point, take an IT certification class, they can go into our testing center in a lot of cases and take that test there then at that point. Same with some of our adult basic education students. They're able then to take their GED test when they're ready to take that. And when you're open for your students, you have to be open for the population. That's what the testing center company requires. And so there may be lots of people in the community that want to take a IT certification test or whatever. So the 6-foot distancing, is still in effect. So a lot of those kind of constrain the numbers you can get at any one time in any space. But we do know that our students need those options. So we're working on trying to get a plan that works, as Amber said. Like everything, it's sort of a transition, opening more through the summer and then a little more normally for fall.
That's great. I am one of the people who needs to take a IT certification, so I didn't even know that was an option. So I'm really glad that I asked.
Yeah.
You can go to lfcc.edu/testing, and we'll be keeping that website up with kind of the latest in what the openings and availabilities are for that. And I was going to suggest, a lot of times students are interested to hear about any tuition changes or lack thereof in the coming year.
That's a very good suggestion, Amber. Yes, they are. We are too. So the way that tuition works, I'll just tell you the background of it, is our state board for community colleges is who sets tuition. It's actually not set locally by each college. There are 23 colleges, community colleges in the Virginia system. And so what they have to do, based on a law that was passed several years ago, is they have to publicly post for at least, it's either 30 or 60 days, a range of what increases could be coming for students for the following year. And that's for not only community colleges, that's for every public university, college or university in Virginia. And the reason was it let students and parents figure out what to plan for. And so they have to do it every year. So you have some idea what tuition might cost the following year, so you can make a decision. So the state board posted a range for increases in tuition from 0 to 1.2%. That was the range they posted. But we have been assured there is no appetite at all to raise tuition for next year. So at the May meeting of the state board, we are 99.99999% sure that there will be no increase in tuition for next year at all. So it will remain the same for, I believe, the 3rd year in a row, which is really fantastic. For students, we are grateful that they're not raising that. And honestly, our state has done a little bit more to help offset costs, because you all probably know, prices still go up. And usually what we have to do is raise tuition to adjust for that. Usually it's healthcare costs is what we usually have to end up doing it for, but the state has been putting money in to help offset that. So we haven't had to do any increases in tuition. So to Amber's very short question, we are anticipating 0, and we're excited about that. Are any of you all students that are on here, are you graduating? Any of you? I don't know if you can do a show of hand with your reaction or a clap or a woohoo.
I'm a student, but I'll be graduating next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, it might be a normal, by that point, might be a normal graduation, normal commencement.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Anybody this year?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna ask a question as well.
Sure.
Um, I just want to know how COVID has impacted the academic performance overall.
Overall of students.
Yes.
So we're monitoring that actually. We looked at it for, I'll be honest with you, so COVID hit March a year ago, basically, when we went all online. So we looked at very closely at student grades. And what we do is, basically what we do is we break them out in 3 different buckets. You say success, which meant that they earned an A, B, or C. Not successful, which usually we consider a D or an F. And then did they withdraw? Did they get a W? So we look at them in 3 buckets. What made last spring challenging was, we changed the grading scale last spring. If you were here last spring, and some of you might not have been, but if you were here last spring, students could choose to get a pass or just get a fail. I mean, so we didn't have all the ABCs. We had some Ps and there was a lot of grades, options for grades last spring. So we did try to still take the buckets of ABC or pass plus and all the different options that were available and look at them. And by looking at that, it actually looked like students did a lot better. But I don't think that's reflective of what really happened, because a student who was either getting, that was going to fail could choose just to get a W or, not have to get that on theirs. So last springs aren't, I don't think, truly reflective. So we've started now looking at falls. Our chief academic officer looks at those numbers. And while it's not significantly, students are not getting some significantly lower grades, what I worry more about is, we had a drop in enrollment. My fear is you had students who just didn't come back because they couldn't manage it. They couldn't do the online pieces of it. They had kids at home. I mean, whatever their circumstances were, that while it might still not show a huge difference between grades, it may be that people self-selected out of it. And that's why it doesn't look as bad as maybe it could look. So I realize that's not a real specific answer. I will say, I think we will see a small decline in grades. I think we may see a little more decline in withdrawals from what it looks like this past fall, but it wasn't significantly larger. But again, there are some students who self-selected not to re-enroll for a fall semester, so that may have some bearing on it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. What has your all's experience been like? Are you all looking forward, if you're coming back? And I hope if you're not coming back, the only reason you're not is because you're graduating. But for assuming you're all coming back unless you're graduating, are you looking forward to on-site classes? Would you be normally taking them on site? And you can just put in the chat if you want. Or do you love this online stuff? Do you love the new options?
I like both, honestly, but so far I think going into class would help me a lot more, because it's just staring at the screen for so long, it gives me really bad migraines. And I've also lost a family member due to COVID, so it's been really hard.
Yeah.
So it'll just be better for me just get out of the house for once and actually go to school instead of staying at home.
Yeah. We were all talking about that before a lot of the students came on. We think it'll be good for us too, to get back around each other. But I agree. I think even with us, just like students, I think now that students have had this experience of taking classes online, even students that come on site for some still may take more, couple online now that they're a lot more familiar with it and it fits maybe a little easier in their schedule. Just like our employees, may telework a little bit more than what we ever did before, because now we've sort of figured it out. We just know we don't want to do it every single day. questions?
You know what I miss is being able to talk to my fellow students, because I find them to be a really good resource if I have like a couple quick questions about the class material.
Yep.
And it's just, it can't really be replicated online. So my first would be to go back into the classroom, I think. I think that's a big part of the student experience that I feel like I'm missing. But I have been very surprised, pleasantly surprised over the past year that these hybrid, like an hour lecture, chance to ask questions with the prof each week or two is sufficient to keep me going. Like I can accept that, you know. I can accept it during COVID, and even I think you're right. Even moving forward, it might be nice to have the option now of whether to go in person or do it hybrid or all online. I'm not a big fan of all online, but it's nice to have the options, like you mentioned. So yeah, thank
Well,
you.
and people's lives change from, well, week to week sometimes, but semester to semester certainly. And so, you know, I think it's nice that we're going to have more options. I've just thought about this one option, sort of the hybrid, the newer hybrid that they're looking at, the high flex model, where you could have students in class and students at their house. You know, I've thought about so many times, even, you know, just for me, when my kids were younger and schools had a, you know, work day, a teacher work day. Well, it didn't matter if I was working, you know, they still had their teacher work day. You don't always have childcare for that one random day, or the kid wakes up and they're not feeling well that day and you've got to stay home. You know, for students, you could still join your class, you know, like you've been joining from Zoom. Maybe you won't be able to go in physically, but you could join that day and not miss it. So I think some of it will really help, because so many of our students, I mean, I don't know about each of you, but so many of them are working, they have families, I mean, lots of other obligations. So I think the variety of classes is going to be helpful going forward, just for the lives of our students and our employees, quite honestly. What else, or what else from our folks that you think students should know that I'm not telling them that you all think is I know Sarah and Chris are on here and they can't wait to have in-person student activities again. Although I will say there have been a lot of virtual things that have happened that, you know, I think we'll keep some of that kind of stuff that really worked well. But anything else you all think of? I always get the question about masks in the fall. We don't know yet. That's it's not a great answer, but we just don't know yet. We are anticipating, up until they tell us we don't have to, that we may be still wearing masks. We are thinking there'll be less distancing requirements, but we will just play it by ear and let students know as we get closer to the start. I know we're planning picnics. Got to do food a little different maybe, but we're going to have picnics again.
Kim, do you want to talk about G3?
See, you are so good. Okay, so yes, G3. So G3 is a program that was the governor put in his budget this year, and then the state legislature approved. We have been working on this actually for about 2 years. So students that are enrolled in a high demand program that is generally in the healthcare area, the IT area, our public safety area. So for EMS, EMT, sort of that area, I think ADJ maybe is going to be able to get rolled into that eventually. Our manufacturing skilled trades, so even individuals that you might know who want to be in a workforce program. So they want to be in heavy equipment operator or something along those lines. And then early childhood education is another area. There's funding set aside to help support students in those programs. It is an additional financial aid option that we have. The nice thing, really nice thing about it is when we worked on it and when the governor put it in, I don't know if any of you ever apply for Pell, but Pell has some fairly strict requirements as far as the federal government is concerned in terms of income limits and that type of thing. And sometimes we wish, excuse me, they were a little higher. So what G3 did was it allows students to get this financial aid if their family income is up to 4 times the poverty level, which puts it up to 100,000 for a family of 4, as an example. So it's a little higher than what you would normally have with Pell, because we recognize that even families, you know, you have 2 families and or 2 parents, let's say, as an example, or 2 adults in the household that are working, and let's say they make 60,000 a year together. And in terms of Pell, that might seem like a lot, but when you're living in certain parts of our area, that's still not a lot to be able to turn around and just pay full tuition. I always think certainly our students that live in Fauquier County, or, you know, those areas, it's just more expensive to live. And so this is an opportunity to have scholarship funds, grant funds like Pell, no payback, that can cover the cost of tuition beyond maybe what if you're getting scholarships or getting something else. So it is a really, really, really good opportunity. I encourage all of you, if you're coming back, please apply for financial aid. I mean, please apply for scholarships. I think our deadline, the priority deadline is probably just passed, but it is open all the time. And we are still, sometimes things happen and we still have to go back and re-award. A student will decide not to come, for example, that was going to get a scholarship or something along those lines. So apply. Please fill out your FAFSA and apply. There is lots of aid available to help students.
And if you don't mind, if I jump in,
Absolutely.
also student services will go through and pull everybody in those eligible programs to reach out, so that you'll hear from us to either apply for aid or let you know you may be eligible because of your program choice for that funding. So you'll be hearing from us. The funding begins July 1, so it'll be for fall 2021. But we will reach out to you if you are in an eligible program and haven't applied for aid or may be eligible.
What else? Those of you that, I don't know if any of you are on the Fauquier campus, but when you go to the Fauquier campus, if you are for the first time, you are going to see construction. That's going to be new and exciting. Well, I don't know how many of you've done the roundabouts, but that's a whole different ball game. Allow yourself just a couple minutes to get through figure out the little roundabouts, because they obviously finished that part of the construction. But on our campus, the new Hazel Hall is being built. So when you start going up the drive to our to Walk Hall, to our Fauquier campus, you're going to see on your left a lot of construction that's starting to happen. And by the time you come back in fall, if you're just coming back for in-person classes in the fall, you will definitely see a lot of construction that's happened by that point. And if one of you, I hope that's the, Craig posted a link in there. I hope there is a camera that you can see. Yep, the live cam that you can see what's going on over there. But there is a new building being built that will house our health professions programs, our engineering program. There'll be a conference room space. The science labs will be moving in there. We'll be renovating our current building. Will also the downstairs part of that had those programs in it will be more general purpose classrooms. So you're going to see some exciting things changing over at our Fauquier campus if you're going back on there. At our Middletown campus, that we are having one addition to a building. You may or may not notice it, but if you're walking from the student union, you may see that happening. I guess that probably starts happening sometime over the summer. Craig Short's our vice president, so he can correct me in the chat room or somewhere if I'm wrong, but it's sometime in the next few months that we'll start seeing an addition added onto one of our buildings. So you'll see a little construction happening in Middletown.
That's happening. That's happening right now. They're doing the contract paperwork. So hopefully in the next few weeks.
So in the next little bit.
Fencing and stuff.
Yeah. And if you happen to attend our Luray Center, it is brand new. So you're going to go to a brand new building. So we've got a lot of really good things happening as far as new facilities and increased instructional space for students. So that's exciting. I can't wait till the students at Fauquier get to go into that brand new building with all those new classrooms. It's just going to be beautiful. All right, I've talked a lot. What else? Anything else? Going once. I always have someone, this one in a group actually that I'm in, that a class I'm taking basically, the instructor, the facilitator, the mentor always says, you know, I was a faculty member. I can wait for a long time through silence. All right, if there's no more questions, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Chris and Sarah and everybody for setting these up. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Kim.
You all have a good afternoon.
Have a good day.